So there isn't any extension to worry about in a fish. It just goes directly there. Once you introduce a mammalian neck, and you start to get a longer neck, now the heart is displaced down lower.
It turns out the laryngeal nerve first evolved in fish-like creatures as a direct link from the brain to gills near the heart. Over millions of generations, this nerve gradually lengthened, each small step always simpler than a major rewiring to a more direct route.
Remember that a designer, an engineer, can go back to the drawing board, throw away the old design, start afresh with what looks more sensible. A designer has foresight. Evolution can't go back to the drawing board. Evolution has no foresight.
The question of how the giraffe got its long and perfectly engineered neck has been the subject of African folk tales and children's stories. But the most famous author to really address the question was Charles Darwin. Darwin realized that over time, species change. If these changes are useful, then they're passed on to the next generation. Over time, you get a very different animal, a different species even. We can trace the incredible history of an animal by looking at the bones surviving from its ancestors. In the case of the giraffe, we have to go back 60 million years to just after the time when the dinosaurs died out. At this point, the mammals were small rodent-like creatures that lived in thick, humid tropical forests. Fast forward 28 million years and we come to their descendants, the pecorins. Their legs had extended and they'd started walking on 2 toes. Their long snouts were specialized for browsing, choosing the best parts of a plant to eat. 5 million years later lived the civethirs. These cousins of modern-day giraffes were as big as elephants and had thick, stocky necks and incredible horns. 7 million years ago, we come to Ballina, an animal with a giraffe-like shape that stood 6 feet tall. Its fossilized bones were found in what is now Greece, and from there it spread out into China, Asia and Africa, and diversified into at least 10 different giraffe species. Those in Asia became extinct. Of the 5 in Africa, only 1 survived, growing gradually over 5 million years to the height and size of modern giraffes. And that's where the story ends for the time being. Over 60 million years, they've evolved from rabbit-sized omnivores to 20-foot herbivores, the giraffe.
As the giraffe's neck evolved to be longer and longer, the rest of its organs had to keep up. Getting blood to a brain so high off the ground requires a heart of incredible power. Not since the dinosaurs has an animal faced such a formidable challenge.
The heart of the giraffe is an extraordinary story in itself because it's got a big problem it has to deal with, that it's got to pump blood all the way up that neck to the head to keep it conscious to make the whole animal work. You could solve that problem by having a huge, great, colossal heart, but you haven't got the space to do it.
That's right. So if you haven't got a big space or a big heart, you have to design the heart slightly differently. And we can show that very easily by taking this out and cutting through the heart and showing that bit of muscle.
Okay, we got it all.
What we're going to do first is to cut through this outer sac of the heart, which is called the pericardium. Quite a strong, fibrous sac. And it's important that the heart has this because this provides the lubrication, which allows the muscle to contract and relax without drying out or getting friction. Now, this side of the heart is the right side. This is the part that is pumping the blood to the lungs. And you can see that the wall here is perhaps 1.5 centimeters, maybe 2 centimeters thick. On the other side, pumping the blood to the brain, it's got to go against gravity, and in this animal, nearly 1.5 meters or more. And to do that, it has to generate a very high pressure. It does that by thickening the walls of the chamber that is doing the pumping. And what you're seeing here is just a mass of muscle with a small volume into which the blood is pushed, and then this muscle contracts around it and squirts it up.
Is there any other animal that you know as a mammal that has this kind of degree of thickening of its...
Because this is determined by the blood pressure. And this is the animal on the planet with the highest known blood pressure. And this muscle wall is related almost directly to the length of the neck. For every 15 centimeters of neck length, this wall gets another half a centimeter thicker. So this is quite a small thickness, in fact. I've seen hearts that are nearly 3 inches thick, in other words, another inch of wall. So it really is a spectacular bit of machinery that this animal has evolved in order to get the blood up to its head.
Anatomists aren't the only people fascinated by giraffes. NASA-funded scientist Jim Hicks studied them to prepare astronauts for space.
Two things the giraffe has to do. First, it has to pump blood up to the head, and then that blood is returned back to the heart. At the same time, blood is being pumped out to the rest of the body, down into the legs. Now, there's a real problem associated with being big and tall and long.
Jim is interested in how giraffes cope with gravity. In particular, how they deal with the weight of blood pressing down into their legs. Perhaps this physiology could be applied to astronauts. The result of this research has been this, the space cycle. And I'm going to give it a spin. Let's see if I've got the right stuff. This is really weird. And I'm feeling a real pull into my legs. I can feel a sort of pins and needles kind of effect. It's kind of like the feeling you get if you go up a lift really quickly, actually. You're also getting kind of slightly a head rush effect, you know, as if you're standing up too quickly and all the blood's leaving your brain. It's kind of exhilarating.
Right now, at the rate that they're spinning, it's about close to 3 Gs. Now, the person that's powering the bike, who's cycling, is actually getting benefit of skeletal muscle pumps that are driving blood back to the heart. But for Simon, who's just standing in the cage, under these conditions of increased G-forces, he'll start to feel a bit lightheaded as that blood is pooling in the lower legs, and his heart has a more difficult time reestablishing blood flow back to his head. He's getting a little bit green. Yeah, he's getting actually a lot green. Bring her down. Yep. Bring her down.
I'm okay, I'm okay. Oh. Thank you.
Mate.
Thank you.
All right. Just sit right here. Just relax.
Relax. He's going to throw up.
Relax.
Fine.
Relax. Welcome to space.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's an example of extreme blood pooling into the lower extremities. The cardiovascular system was not able to compensate and keep blood perfusion up to his brain, and he got a bit faint, a bit nauseous, but once we lay him out horizontally, he'll reestablish blood flow. His color is slowly coming back. You'll feel lousy for the rest of the day. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be having these problems if I was a giraffe.
in fact, if we were to have put tight-fitting pants or spandex pants around your legs, what that would do is put pressure on your outside of your legs. It would compress your veins. It would prevent your veins from expanding with the increased gravitational stress, and therefore blood would not pool to your lower extremities.
So I'm not going to be an astronaut, am I?
Not today, you're not going to be an astronaut.
So Richard, if you're going to open that up for us, and this is the front leg obviously taken off our giraffe.